I gotta admit, I am going through Aztecs basketball withdrawal. How about you? But covering Aztec sports never ends, so welcome to Aztecs All In, the podcast that goes all in on San Diego State sports. I'm Weiner along with Steve Perez, back to doing our weekly episodes after a few weeks of multiple episodes to cover the Mountain West and NCAA basketball tournaments. Steve, how are you doing?
I am, how you say it, doing well. I'm still seeing basketballs bouncing off the rim and opponents' threes just ripping through the net. Oh my!
Coming up in this, officially, episode 43 of Aztecs All In, we now know Lamont Butler's plans, but we're not sure if that means he'll be back on the court for the Aztecs next season.
So fresh off another appearance in the Sweet 16, looks like the Aztecs athletics department may be looking to spend some of those NCAA March Madness units they have coming their way on a study? Yeah, that's it. A study.
And the Aztecs are under consideration to play in a fall NIL tournament that could bring in $1 million windfall. But first, Steve, next year's Aztecs basketball team will look a lot different, with potentially 2 7-footers in the lineup. But among those returning could be 3 seniors. Lamont Butler, Micah Parrish, and Reese Waters all have eligibility remaining. While we haven't heard yet plans from Waters or Parrish, we did get confirmation from Lamont Butler on his current plans. Butler posted on the X that just like last year, he is declaring for the NBA draft while maintaining his college eligibility. But that doesn't mean if he returns to college, it will be at San Diego State. Keshad Johnson did the same thing last season, but then entered the transfer portal and signed a lucrative NIL deal with Arizona. Whether Butler will do the same thing is yet to be known. Here's what he said in his post on the X. Quote, "Throughout my life, I have been continually blessed with dream opportunities by the grace of God. He's made me strong, tough, and resilient to fight every obstacle placed in front of me. As I embark on my next journey, God will empower and guide me toward the right direction." Unquote. Of course, Aztecs fans wish Butler well in whatever path he chooses, but I, for one, would love to see him back on the Viejas Arena court next season. No matter what you think about Lamont, he is forever a San Diego sports icon. His last-second shot in the Final Four last season against FAU to send the Aztecs to the national championship game is one of the greatest, if not the greatest moment in not just San Diego State sports history, but San Diego sports history. Of course, Butler is free to play wherever he chooses, but it's hard for me to imagine him going somewhere else. Maybe I'm being naive because, yes, he could get tons in NIL money to switch schools. But his connection to the city of San Diego is something special, and that cannot be recreated somewhere else. So if Butler again pulls out of the NBA draft, I personally fully expect that he'll play one last season in a San Diego State uniform, and we'll have to wait and see how that goes. And Steve, in this era of NIL, San Diego State fans are often wondering how the Aztecs can compete with all of those well-financed Power 5 schools. Well, if you can't beat them, join them. It appears that could be the case this fall. Front Office Sports is reporting that San Diego State is one of the teams in discussion to take part in a new in-season men's college basketball tournament that's offering up to $2 million in NIL deals. The 8-team event this season, that would expand to 16 teams next season, would pay out $1 million to each team participating. According to Front Office Sports, that money would be funneled to collectives, boosters, or other NIL entities, with the coaches and teams able to distribute that money however they see fit, as long as it goes to current players. Other teams under consideration, according to the report, are Alabama, Duke, FAU, Houston, Kansas, Oregon, St. John's, Syracuse, and Virginia. The winning team will be eligible to earn an additional $1 million. This year's event will be called Players Era, and will be held at MGM Arena in Las Vegas. For San Diego State to even be considered to play in the tournament is a credit to Brian Dutcher and his staff for leading his team to back-to-back Sweet 16s. While the Aztecs certainly aren't considered to be a college basketball blue blood, so to speak, it certainly is now considered to be one of the premier programs in college basketball, and that means something. For the Aztecs to compete for the nation's best players, it needs some cold, hard cash. And while Mesa Foundation is doing all it can, more help is needed. If this is a way to add $1 million to the Aztecs' NIL coffers, then I am all for it. And one last thing, congratulations to Jaden Ledee from being named to the 2024 John R. Wooden Award All-America team. The team is made up of 10 student athletes who are the top 10 vote-getters in the quest to earn college basketball's most prestigious honor, the John R. Wooden Award. In addition to Ledee, the team includes R.J. Davis of North Carolina, Hunter Dickinson of Kansas, Zach Edey from Purdue, Kyle Filipowski from Duke, Dalton Knecht from Tennessee, Tyler Cole from Marquette, Arizona's Caleb Love, Tristan Howard from UConn, and Jamal Sheed of Houston. This was arguably the best season by an Aztecs player in school history. Ledee's totals for points, field goals, and combined points, rebounds, and assists broke Michael Cage's 40-year-old records in each category. Steve?
All right, Lewis, time to take it started out as a quick look, but it's not so quick after all. It's a look at the just concluded men's basketball season. Well, actually more looking ahead. The pantry looks stocked for next season with the aforementioned 7-footers and plenty of young talent. And in time, we'll learn if the guys you mentioned are coming back. The team can always use the experience and the ability. We can also expect at least one impact transfer that seems to arrive each year with experience and a different program and who wants to be part of the Aztecs way and willing to leave it all out there on the court when it comes to playing defense. Brian Dutcher and the rest of the coaching staff knows who they have, what they need, and the type of people who may help fill that need. But from here, we'll have to wait to hear all about it sometime toward the tail end of football season when they start playing again. Because the way things are now, you don't even know if the people that have been touted as being part of the future of Aztecs basketball are even going to be there when the time comes. The new custom in recent years is to keep an eye on the transfer portal, and if you're someone with a certain set of skills, test the waters, and maybe even get an offer to play somewhere else for more than just a few bucks. This is, of course, capitalism, and everyone now free to test the waters thanks to some legal rulings involving transfers and the ownership of one's name, image, and likeness. It's turned about because coaches were always free to do that after putting in a few years or maybe even less at one school and can jet off somewhere else and get some more visibility and maybe a few more kopecks in the babushka. But have detected a bit of muttering from some of the older school types that the college game is changing because of all that. Well, expect to see even more of such change. Be careful what you wish for. These mutterings I've heard from old schoolers run somewhere along the lines of it resembling a semi-pro model now that leaves fans rooting for uniforms as opposed to becoming attached to individual players and aligning oneself heart and soul to the alma mater to those who spend their entire careers on the same campus. I mean, just think about it. Would a player the caliber of a Kawhi Leonard have even spent more than a couple seasons at San Diego State in the current environment? Thankfully, we'll never know the answer to that one. It would be nice, though, if the adults in the country get a grip on what's happening in the world of big-time college athletics. But I'm not going to be holding my breath. As the old sports cliche goes, it is what it is. I know, Lewis. You've been on tenterhooks trying to figure out just what study merits a mention in a headline on Aztecs All In. Well, it's a doozy. It's a renovation study of Viejas Arena. announced earlier this week by the Aztec Athletics Department and in association with the Associated Students, which is theoretically an independent student-directed corporation at SDSU. The idea is to take a fresh look with an eye toward making an experience at Viejas even better. Of course, Lewis Aztec followers know Viejas to be the home of the Aztecs men's basketball team, backed by the show, which kind of goes in the direction of whatever type of students are matriculating at any given time. But in addition to the men's hoopsters, there's women who play there as well. And if you pay attention to that big old billboard vying for your attention off I-8 and College Avenue, there are also numerous concerts and such on tap. But the idea of this study is to perhaps create some new places for and options for people to socialize, grab stuff to eat and drink. Looks like there also might be a way for students to spend a bit more time outside there besides just rushing by on their way to and from classes, as the news mentions exploring complimentary service outside the arena. So Aztecs AD J.D. Wicker says the department toyed with taking on such a project in 2019, but then there came the lockdown brought on by that global health emergency 4 years ago that changed everyone's lives forever. Instead, the time is now to evolve at Viejas. It may be time for some big dollar donors to break out their checkbooks, because the department notes the last big project was the multi-million dollar Snapdragon Stadium. That was actually built on time. It just took a couple of seasons worth of commutes to, where was it? Pacoima? Irvindale? City of Industry? Anyways, season ticket holders await the latest iteration of Aztecs football, known as Aztec Fast, under the guidance of newish coach Sean Lewis. It looks like now the arena is going to get some love. The guy who runs Viejas for the Associated Students, Tim Gripke, says all in all, 500,000 people pass through the gates at the arena by way of the games and also university functions, special programs, and such. Seems like just yesterday that the Aztecs christened that new arena, but it was actually 27 years ago. So this will be what they call the most comprehensive upgrade to Viejas in its history. Have you gotten your marketing survey yet, Lewis? Me neither, but supposedly the project will begin with a market survey of basketball fans to see what they'd like. Let's see, I don't have a flounder sounder at the ready, so here's my best effort at that. Oh boy, this is gonna be great!
Steve, while Aztecs fans were mourning the Sweet 16 loss to UConn, a San Diego State baseball player accomplished something that had been done just 8 other times in the program's history. He threw a no-hitter. Graduate transfer Jacob Riordan made history during the second game of a doubleheader against New Mexico on Friday, March 29th at Tony Gwynn Stadium in a 13-0 7-inning run rule shutout win. He wasn't perfect by any means, walking 6 and hitting a batter, but he did throw 8 strikeouts to raise his record to 3-1 on the season. This gives the Aztecs a no-hitter in consecutive seasons for the first time, following T.J. Fontaine's no-no against Nevada nearly a year ago. The no-hitter is the highlight of a season that so far hasn't been great for the Aztecs, who have a record of 9-18 overall and 4-8 in conference. They've played pretty well at home with a record of 7-8, but have struggled on the road with a record of 2-10. Riordan told the UT's Kirk Kenney that it was a very, very exciting moment that took him some time to fully take in what happened, and what made it even more special is that his mom was in the stands for the first time this season. So what else do we know about the Aztecs pitcher who stands 6'4"? Well, here's what I found on the San Diego State Baseball TikTok page. Here's Jacob Riordan himself.
What's going on, guys? My name is Jacob Riordan. I'm a right-handed pitcher from Atlanta, Georgia, and grad transferred from Arkansas Pine Bluff University. I've loved baseball ever since I tried it. My dad got me into the game at a young age and never lost sight of it. I just say that the smaller details really matter. Every little thing that you can to, get better and improve it adds up. I play baseball right-handed, but I'm actually left-handed.
So, Steve, where else can you find these nuggets? Yep, right here on Aztecs All In. He throws right-handed, but is actually left-handed. And you might remember the name of another Aztecs right-hander who threw a no-hitter. In fact, before Fontaine's no-hitter last season, it had been 14 years since the last time an Aztec player accomplished the feat, and his name was Stephen Strasburg. And what a memorable night that was. Strasburg threw the no-hitter on May 8th, 2009, in what would be his final collegiate game against Air Force at Tony Gwynn Stadium, and he struck out 17 batters. And here's what it sounded like.
Strasburg ready to go. The 1-2 pitch slider, strike three called, a no-hitter! The man who has rewritten the history books at San Diego State has just topped it off with the greatest history of all.
Strasburg was inducted into the SDSU Athletics Hall of Fame in 2014 and had a stellar career in the majors after being drafted number 1 overall until, of course, an injury pretty much shut him down. He was a 3-time All-Star who won 113 games with a lifetime ERA of 3.24 and helped the Washington Nationals win a World Series in 2019. After the season, he signed a 7-year contract, but since then pitched just 31 innings since and isn't expected to ever pitch again due to an injury. Steve, did you know Strasburg is the only major leaguer to be drafted first overall and then win a World Series MVP?
Ah, yes. Moving into that time of year when baseball's the game. Nice leisurely pace, that one. National pastime. And they already have a semi-pro version of the college game. It's called the minor leagues. And that'll wrap up this edition of Aztecs All In. Thanks for joining us. On behalf of Weiner, this is Steve Perez saying you can keep in touch via the former bird-like social media platform known now as X at Aztecs_all_in. And you can also dash off a nastygram or maybe even a few words of encouragement or perhaps even some suggestions for future show topics via the Google at aztecsallin@gmail.com. Thanks for stopping by. And like the Terminator say, we'll be back.